Hello folks and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about how I like to review my GoPro footage after I have a track day. I'm normally recording whenever I do my track days just because I like to have the video for incriminating evidence for whenever any of my friends crash and just in case I do. But it's also really useful to review and look at in regards to your writing and how you can improve. So after I go to a track day, I try to take my footage and I do a bit of a review process with that footage and try to extract some data points using some tools and then look and see how I can use that information to make me a better writer for the next time I go out on track. So I'm going to show you a little bit of my process and kind of how I do those things. Not saying it's the right way or that it's the right conclusions. It probably isn't. But it's kind of what I'm doing right now, and so far it's enabled me to consistently improve and consistently go faster on track and be safe as a rider. So hopefully you find it interesting. Maybe this is something you will want to consider doing after your track day. But I'll show you the process at least, and you can decide for yourself if you find it useful or not. So let's dive right in. So as you can see here, on the top left, I've got my GoPro footage, and within that footage, I've got some useful widgets. I've got the current lap time, I've got the lean angle indicator, I've got a speedometer, and I've got a G-force indicator. And below that, I've got the map of the track, which this is Donington Park, and in the UK. And this shows the line that I'm following. It's not 100% accurate, but it's enough to kind of give you some information, which is helpful. And here you've got a graph, and this is a graph across time or distance, depending how you want to set it up. And the purple line is a indicator of speed, so you can see how you're speeding up or slowing down. And the blue line that you see here is an indication of lean angle. So you can compare your speed versus lean angle. So you can see this is relatively flat in terms of 0 degrees. And this is relatively, leaned on that side at a slightly higher degree. That's 20, I think that's 30 or 40 degrees there. So it's just a useful way of seeing how much the bike is leant over and how fast you're going and how quickly you're slowing down, etc. So this is all pulled off of the GoPro data, as long as you've got GPS and you've got gyro sensors in your GoPro. I've got a GoPro 7 Hero Black, I believe it is, and it's got all of this good information baked into the metadata. So using the Race Chrono Pro tools, you can import your GoPro data and extract this type of information. So let's go ahead and dig in. I'll kind of just take you through this lap and kind of what I'm looking at. And it's going to be a bit raw. I apologize in advance if this is like super boring, but this is kind of me looking at my own laps and trying to understand how I can improve. And hopefully you learn from that and maybe can do something similar, or you can look at it and say you're drawing all the wrong conclusions, you're doing this wrong, in which case please comment down below and tell me how I can do it better, because we're all here to learn, right? So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm just going to play the first couple corners of this this lap, and then we'll pause and have a look at them. We're coming into Redgate here, which is our first corner. Missed my apex. Kind of missed that one too. That was a bit better. Missed that one by a mile. Got that one. Okay, let's have another look. So, one of the things I do look for is, am I hitting the apex? That's that's kind of an obvious one. There are other things to plenty of other things to consider as well. Um, so, for instance, one of the things I look at, where's my positioning going into the corner. In this particular case, I'm probably, I don't know, probably about a foot, maybe 6 inches to a foot over to the right hand side of the blend line from the pit lane. This is the pit lane entry here. And I've seen a lot of riders either right on that line or even some that actually go slightly over to set up for red gate. I think I could probably afford to be just a little bit further over. Obviously, keeping an eye out for any riders entering the track from the pit lane. But I think I could afford to be over there just a little bit sooner because I think I could get over there a little bit sooner and I could to widen out that corner a little bit. Um, I have missed the apex here. I'm not, I'm probably a good 1 or 2 feet out again. But I think there's a bigger problem that I've got with this, which is looking at this data here, which looking at my lean angle, I'm only running a 38.5. I'm comfortable running up to 42s to 45s. So I know that there's more that I can give there. And the other thing that I'm looking at is this curve here, the speed curve, and it's a big U shape. And for me, what that means is that I'm not breaking into this properly, and I'm not properly exiting. So this looks like a coasting pattern where I'm kind of braking, and then in these sections, it feels like I'm starting to kind of just coast around the corner, and then that is leading to a relatively weak exit, and also time lost on entry as well. And all of that is leading to a corner speed that doesn't really require lean angles that I know I'm capable of. Not that we should be pushing our lean angle too much because that does increase risk, but I know that I can comfortably go beyond this. So there's more to give in this corner, and I think looking at what I'm seeing here, I think the way I'm going to tackle this in my next session there is I'm going to actually move my braking marker a little bit. So my current braking marker is kind of at the end of the pit lane wall, just before it kind of moves into this steel barrier side. And I think I'm actually going to try to shift my braking marker to be before just before the end of the pit lane near this marshal's post, where that green, you can see the green marking on the asphalt there. So I think right there is where my target will be. But I'm not just going to go and say, okay, don't brake until this point in my first round out there, because I don't know if that's the right marker or not. So what I'll start to do is, okay, if this is my current comfortable braking marker, I'm just going to let it go by just a little bit. Before I get to that point, I'm just, that's a good, I can easily give it a second or two, or just a second after that point, and then I'll brake, kind of around this point. And I'll see how that feels kind of going into that corner. I don't want to run hot into red gate and end up in the gravel. So I'll slowly work my way into extending or reducing that distance, and making sure that I'm doing that safely and slowly. And I think that what that'll start to do is that will mean that I have to brake for probably a bit harder than I am currently, because I know that I'm not braking as hard into that corner as I could be. Probably a little bit harder and a little bit sharper for a bit longer, so that this kind of soft V soft U kind of turns a little bit more into a V shape. So we chop off some of that time to get to the same, or maybe slightly slower apex speed, depending on how that looks. So I'm hoping we can start to sharpen up that line, pick an apex speed, potentially slightly slower, and then be able to gun out harder as well. And if I look at the line that I'm carrying through here, yeah, I think it speaks to the same thing. Like it feels like a very soft U. You know, this is not completely accurate, obviously, as you can see. It's kind of over the over the rumble strips, which I know that that's not happening. But if you look at the overall shape of it, it feels quite soft, and I feel like I could probably be driving in a little bit harder, trail braking into a slightly deeper point. So maybe tipping in slightly later, trail braking into a point more like this, and then actually apexing out on closer to the back end and driving out harder, which is kind of the answer to the next section, I think. Section. Words are hard. All right, so going into Hollywood, let's have a play through this. Yeah, if you hear the motor through there, it's literally just like coasting, right? It's just like, and then it just starts to tail off. And the problem that I have in this section, and I know I'm slow in this section here, because my mate he rides with me and he's a lot faster through this section, and so I think one of the issues I have is that I don't really know where to gas up coming into Craners, because I don't really feel like, you know, hammering into the gas coming down into this particular corner, because if you get this corner wrong and you come off, it's not a pretty sight. I'm not sure if you've seen any of the crashes around Craners, but it's not particularly good. So what I think I'm going to do for this is to start to solve this corner, I am going to get my exit out of Redgate, right? So driving harder here, having my apex somewhere later in here, and driving hard to get to a higher general speed going into Craners. So if right now I'm running into like a 93, I want to push that up into like the 100 mile an hour, maybe even 100 and 105, 110. So get a stronger drive out, push that general speed coming into Craners a bit harder, because again, if I look at my my lean angles coming into Craners, I'm at like 20. I'm at 20, 21, yeah, angles of lean. So it's nothing, right? Like that can be pushed a lot harder. So I can push harder through here, increase the lean angle coming into Craners, but not trying to gas through Craners particularly. Just carry, excuse me, just carrying a higher. Talking is hard. Sorry. Yes, that's better. Just carrying higher speed into Craners to begin with, and then just seeing what that does and how that feels. I'm very cautious around around Craners. I don't want to mess it up, so I'm going to try just carrying a little bit more speed through there and just see how that feels going into things. Yeah, need to see what that looks like. The coming into the second one here, I'm honestly not sure why I'm missing that apex. I feel like, yeah, I don't think this might have been a one-off lap or something, but it doesn't feel right. Feels like I'm trying to almost hug for too long, leaning that direction rather than I should almost be starting to straighten up a little bit. But anyways, again, Craner's a tough one. I'm going to spend some more time there on the bike trying to get a bit more data and just a feel for it on the day. I'm also going to be following my mate through there because he goes through there quite quickly. So I'm going to be taking notes from him. as a starting point. Now, the next corner, which is Old Hairpin, I do know what I need to do, though, because I know that I'm not actually braking into the Old Hairpin. I'm literally just rolling off out of Craners. So I'm coming out of Craners. I'm literally just rolling off the throttle and then just carrying that corner speed through there. And that is really not effective. So I could be gassing it out of Craners massively, hammering into the brakes and properly, trail braking into Old Hairpin. And I could gain quite a bit of time on the entry. And we'll talk about exit here in a second as well. But I know for a fact that because I can literally just coast into it, and you can see it here, right? Like it's like coasting, yeah, a little bit. Like there might be a touch of brakes there, but that's probably just a down a gear shift. I can listen. Let's see if that's a gear shift. No, it's literally just rolling off. It's literally just rolling off at that point. So, yeah, so I can definitely be gassing out of Craners a bit more. That'll run me a bit wider, which is fine. I've got loads of track space over here. So I could be pushing out a little bit wider, pulling it in here, braking into it, and then coming out the other side. Now, the thing on the exit for the Old Hairpin that I think I really need to work on is actually I saw this in some comparison data that I was looking at from another rider, where I come out and I straighten the bike up and then I tip in. And I think what I should be trying to do is I'll see if I can show you here. So I'm leant over, coming around, straighten the bike up, keep the bike straight, and then I tip in for this corner. And I think what I can do is I can actually come out, go out a little bit wider, because I'm not out as wide as I could be. Carry a little bit more of that speed through there. And then in kind of one smooth motion of coming like this, going out a little bit wider, and then flip over and set myself up, so that it's not a up then tip in. It's literally just a come round through the Old Hairpin, come out wide, and then just flop over and it's straight into it. So it just becomes one big smooth kind of motion. Sorry. And I think that'll actually start to feel a bit better. I'll be able to carry more speed through that. I really struggled with getting this one right, so I need to spend some time digging into that one a little bit more. But I'm gonna try to have that switch from Old Hairpin lent right to going into Starskis to the left be one smooth motion, just left and right, just as one smooth thing, rather than trying to stand the bike up in between. And we'll see how that goes. Don't know. We'll have to play with it on the day. If you have any tips for how you handle the Old Hairpin, please let me know, because I'd love to learn. Going into Starskis, again, I think let's play that. Yeah, the problem with these corners, the whole first sector, if you get the first corner wrong, like if you get Redgate wrong, you've got all of them wrong. And it's really that way through all of these corners through the first sector here. Is if you line up the first ones wrong, it kind of messes every other one up, because it's such a flowing section of the track. And you can see that here. I haven't quite got the exit right out of Old Hairpin. And so I'm not really driving up as much. Like you can see the velocities here. I mean, it's kind of just almost level until I kind of get out here a little bit, and then I start to push out a little bit more. But even then, I'm not pushing out nearly to the edge of the track. There's loads of track space here that I'm not using. And not only am I not using it, I'm not setting myself up for Schwantz correctly either. So I'm actually tightening that corner because I haven't used the track space So I need to be out a lot wider, which will allow me to go faster and also be safer because it lines up Schwanz's curve a little bit better for me. So yeah, that's some work to do there, I think. Now, McLean's, I'm pretty fast through McLean's. Actually, I've been around the track with some really quick guys, and I'll be way slower in the first sector. But right around McLean's is whenever I start to actually, okay, yeah, I can kind of tag on a little bit now. So McLean's, I'm actually pretty happy with. I've missed the apex in this particular video, but generally speaking, it's not where I'm going to spend a lot of time trying to focus on because it, I'm doing something that kind of works for me and it seems to be keeping the pace. And in some of the comparison videos that I've looked at and some of the comparison data, I'm not that far off in this particular sector or corner. So it's good to know where you've got something that works and not to change it, as well as it is to know where you're not doing something right. So McLean's I'm pretty happy with, except for that loss of an apex, and again, like even that you can see, like I've missed an apex and I've not actually come out to the edge of the track, and I've still carried some pretty good corner speed through there. So there's improvement there still, but in general, as across the various sessions that I've looked at, I'm pretty happy with the performance there. The other thing that you can start to see is that I'm starting to get a little bit more of that V shape here. It's still got a little bit of coasting, but a little bit more of the V shape that I'm looking for in my speed. Okay, so let's keep playing. Oh, see, that braking marker is way too early. So you watch where that braking marker happens. Right there. When you hear it in the engine tone, whenever the engine tone starts to drop, so it's going. So it's right here. Normally, you should be able to put a braking marker at or right before the rumble strips. That this is actually quite a steep hill coming up into Coppice, and you can use that hill because it's gone up. You can use that hill to help you on the brakes, where it's literally like that front is just diving into that hill. So you can brake quite late going into Coppice, and you can actually carry a surprising amount of corner speed as well, because the middle bit of Coppice you can run quite wide in. So in this particular video, at least, whilst I did a good job switching from gas to braking, it was way too early, and it could have been quite a bit later. So we could have saved a good, let's see, how many seconds is that? That's 52.2 all the way to 53. Yeah, because I could have saved a second, or been a lot faster for a second of time going through that section right there, and braking just a bit later. So Coppice is a blind apex. Well, it's not an apex in this video, but it's supposed to be a blind apex. I'm turning in probably just not hard enough, maybe a little bit sooner. I'm watching lane angle here. I'm up to 43, so that's getting towards my level of comfort. 45 is kind of maximum for me at the moment. So I think the area that I'll focus in is just the braking into it, and then I'll see how this feels before I make any changes to kind of what I'm doing. My instinct is I can probably turn in a little bit sooner. I also am not using all the track. I could be further over and get a few more inches of space for that tip in to be a little bit more gentle. So there's some edge of track work that I can do there, and possibly a slightly earlier tip in, or maybe just a more direct tip in. So instead of just kind of leaning into it, like actually like putting some positive input into that and saying, okay, now we're going to go and get into that leaned state a little bit faster. So that's that. Let's just keep playing through there. Yeah, I quite like what's happening here. I could come out a little bit wider. There's a bit of a rough spot on the track here, which actually, if you run out a little bit wider, it's actually a little bit smoother. So it's sometimes actually quite nice to carry a bit extra speed into there, and get a little bit further over, miss that bump, and then properly gun it out. But you know, this isn't bad. What I've done here, I've hit the second apex, which is good. And the one thing I'm not doing though is I'm not powering out as much as I could, because you can see that right there. Like I've got how much space? Is that 4 or 5 feet? I don't know. But I've clearly not pushed as hard on the throttle as I could, because I could keep the same exact lean angle, same amount of safety, and I could gun out harder and run out wider, and just carry way more speed onto the straight, the back straight. So something to improve on. All right, so going into Fogarty's off the back straight, I think the back straight is another one where I need to look at braking markers. I've seen a couple of pieces of data from other riders that makes me think that I can probably shift my braking marker slightly. So there's a big, it's a big hill, a big hill. There's a hill in the middle of the back straight, and if you're on a powerful enough bike, your front end will lift up. And if you stay to the right-hand side of the track over here, it lifts up quite violently. If you're on a powerful like 1000cc superbike, it properly comes up. It's a bit scary at times. So what I try to do is I actually try to stick over to the left-hand side, and that reduces the amount of wheeling that you get coming over that crest. And the way I normally do it is as soon as I get past that crest, that's my braking marker. It's like, okay, now I'm going to be on the brakes. And I think some of the reasons for that is in my earlier riding. If I would stay to the right-hand side, the wheelie would be quite big. And by the time you got down off the wheelie, it was like, yeah, actually now I am in trouble. I need to be properly hard on the brakes. So I've kind of gotten into the habit of like, as soon as I'm past that crest, like I'm on the brakes. And I think, you know, if I look at the braking data here, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there is a slight tail off on the deceleration here, but I'm pretty straight into brakes up until the first apex. So I'm going to be really careful with this one, because I don't want to just shift my braking marker by quite a lot. I might give it just a second or like half a second after the ridge as a starting point. Maybe I'll just use that change of tarmac there, because you can see there's a change of tarmac there. Maybe I'll just use that, because that's a slight shift from my, you can't see it here, but it's a slight shift from my my peak, where I initially start braking. So maybe I'll just shift to that as a starting point and see how that feels, because it is pretty firm into brakes, and that could just be that I wasn't hard on the brakes as hard as I could have been on the brakes, but I was consistently on the brakes through that period of time. But that straight line, or straight-ish line, makes me think that I don't want to push that braking marker too hard, because I could quite quickly run out of runway. if I'm already kind of trail braking that firmly into the first apex. On the exit, I think I could be doing a little bit more of holding the throttle open through this section. So you can see I pick up the throttle here a little bit, and then I hold, and then it starts again. And I think you can see it in the data here. Look at this kind of slight flat and then going back up. So as I'm coming around, I speed up a little bit, and then here I slow down, and then kind of like wait until I get the bike turned, and then I gas it out. My lean angle through there is 23, so I've got plenty of space. I think I could do more to hold that throttle open through that section and shave a bit of time there as well. Maybe carry a little bit more lean angle, but but get to that, essentially take this point to that point as a straighter line rather than this dip in between. But yeah. At least I'm using the track there, which is good. Melbourne is one of my favorite corners. I really love Melbourne. I think that I'm probably braking just a touch early. For the speed I'm carrying, I think that if I were able to work on that lack of drive, I think my braking marker would probably be about right. Right as you start to see those rumble strips coming up at you, because this is it doesn't look like it in the video, but this is actually kind of downhill a little bit. So you're carrying a lot of momentum, you're carrying a lot of, you know, the bike pushing you through it. So I don't want to overcook that one just yet. I think I'll focus on drive out of the Fogger DSs and then try to keep the same braking marker for the time being. I also just want to quickly check here if I'm actually shifting the way I should, so I'm just going to play through this 1 second. Okay. Yeah, I'm up into third. I might be able to pick up fourth for a second if I'm careful there, but I have occasionally just gone to second, and I just run out of revs before I get to this point, so I'm losing drive in there. So at least I'm picking up third there, which is good. I do think I could be further over. I'm not against the edge here, so yeah, I could be picking up a little bit more room there. I'm probably being, you know, this isn't my greatest line, but I'm kind of double apexing it, whereas I think I could probably actually go in a bit deeper and a bit smoother, so less of this and more of kind of out a little bit and then gun it out. So I carry a little bit more speed through this section to get to the same point and then gun through. But regardless, you know, what I like about this is I've got a speed curve that kind of comes down into a V, and there's not a lot of coasting. There's not a lot of things like that happening there. There's a little bit of a blip here and a little blip there on the exit, but the overall piece of that is fast in, fast out. But you know, fast in, slow it down, super slow. I mean, I'm literally going, what was like 18 miles an hour at the turning speed there, which is a bit ridiculous. That's probably a little bit extreme. I probably need to work on that. But it's, you know, get to that point as quick as you can, and because you're on 1,000, get out of there as quick as you can. And I think on the exit, I could be using, I could be using a little bit more track. And again, the braking marker is way too early coming into this. So my braking marker traditionally is this white line right here. And I find that to be a good kind of general braking marker for this corner. As you can see here on the data, with that position, I've already started braking well before then. So I could have been carrying a good 10 miles an hour faster up to that braking point easily. So that's another thing to work on. And then last corner, Goddard's. So Goddard's, again, it's a similar thing to Redgate in that, like, you look at the U shape of that speed. So rather than allowing it to come down to that type of thing where we shave off all of that time and then drive out hard, we've kind of got this whole big U-shaped thing going on. And I think part of that is my late braking marker, because I'm kind of coasting through there. My early braking marker. So if I shift that over, that will sharpen that front end up of that U. The GPS data is unfortunately a little bit janky here, so it's a bit difficult to say, what my exact line was at that time, just besides looking at the video. But it seems to me that I probably tipped in too early. I could have probably braked a lot deeper into this. And just like I did at Melbourne, this is the extreme example, but brake deep into it and then power out. I think I could do the same thing here. So run deeper in to this type of point on the brakes, bring it around and properly gun it out on the backside to get a little bit more drive onto that straight. So yeah, I'm just looking to see, I've apexed it, which is great, but I've lost a fair bit of time, and both entry time and exit drive, which onto a big straight, getting your exit is really important to helping your time. So I think the focus on this corner next time I'm at Donny will be hit the right braking marker and don't tip in too early. Kind of tipping in. Yeah, it's literally almost just past this, and I think I could start tip in quite a lot later to help square off that corner a little bit and get better drive from the 1,000 that I'm riding. All right, so that's the lap. I was just going to show you really quickly one last thing before we go. I appreciate you taking the time to look at this with me, or maybe you haven't. Maybe you just switched off. That's cool too. But this is the same lap, but overlaid with some other data. So one great thing about Race Chrono Pro is that you can import other sessions. So you can import your friends' sessions. You can import. There's actually a section where you can go and you can buy some sessions from pro racers and people that have done this track before. And you can I've imported one from a racer here, and I can see compared to my data. So my data is the bright blue and the bright purple, and the racer's data is the slightly faded blue and the faded purple. And just kind of scrolling through that, what I can see is that my lane angles are generally in alignment to a large degree with some of the data, but there's a lot more speed, and there's a lot more of the that V-shaped stuff going on, right? Look at that V, that speed into the point. I'm actually faster than a racer through Redgate, but not for very long. So overall, I'm a lot slower. So going really fast in, getting to a point where you can get the bike turned around and then gunning it out is how you need to ride 1,000. So there's work there that I need to do in regards to that. So you can just see that, and again, carrying more corner speed through Hollywood, which we talked about already, using the brakes into into the old hairpin, which you can see there. Again, same type of thing that we need to be doing, getting better drive out of that because of it. You can see this lean angle where coming out of the old hairpin, I did the like straighten the bike up for a little bit and then go to the other side, and you can see how the reference lap is like literally just one, like from one side of the bike to the other just immediately. And so there's work to do in there, and again really using the exit here, like again I can see all this track that I'm not using, better drive and using more of the track is giving a massive, massive speed difference. That's, from 101 miles an hour to 124 miles an hour. So work to focus on there. Again, through McLean's, like I say, I'm pretty fast through McLean's. We actually are on pace for one corner, which is quite exciting. But as I said before, braking too early, and yeah, so you can see the same types of things. Coppice, not too bad, but missing a bit of drive as we discussed, and the braking marker for the back straight, for this racer at least, is quite a bit later than mine. So they got a lot more drive through there. Our braking angles were almost consistent. So the way I braked into the Fogger DSs, the way they braked into the Fogger DSs is similar, but obviously from a much higher speed and a much later braking marker. And this is where I let off the gas coming out of the Fogger DSs before speeding up, and you can see that loss that you get from that drive that you would otherwise have. Same braking marker coming into Melbourne, and yeah, again, I slightly overcooked that particular session coming into Melbourne, so I went a bit too slow through there. And we can see again, later braking marker coming into Goddard's from the reference lap, and carrying a lot more speed through there, up to a tighter point, and then gunning it out on the backside like we discussed. So when you do your analysis and you're looking at your own data, it can be really useful. But it's also really useful to get someone else's data into the mix and start to see, okay, hey, how do they handle that? Where can I mimic that, or where is that a riding style thing? Because there are different riding styles. The way I feel comfortable on the bike means that I ride it a certain way, and that you're not going to be able to go in and emulate exactly what someone's doing, but at least you can understand some of the data that's going on behind the scenes. You can understand why someone is so much faster through that one corner than you. Yeah, that's about it for me. I'm really sorry to have kind of talked your ear off during this whole time. I hope this was helpful. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, give it a like, leave it a thumbs up, and please leave some comments down below about your riding, if you've ever been on track before. If you haven't, I'd highly recommend it. It's really a great way to learn your skills. You don't have to be a racer. You don't have to be fast. You don't have to be any good at all. They have novice group sessions for a reason. They do even road bike only days where you can rock up on your road bike and take it out on track and just have a blast. Highly recommend it. It's a great way of kind of gaining some skills and gain some confidence in the bike, and also just having an amazing blast going well above the speed limit in a legal way. So that's about it for me. I'm going to wrap this up. This has gone too long anyways, but just thanks so much for taking the time to watch this, and I hope you enjoyed it. Stay well, and I will see you on the next one.